Okay, from where that last video ended up yesterday, um, uh, come down with kind of a cold at this point, so if my voice changed a little, I apologize. I'm going to just continue where we left off, and that was the point where we were going to take our unwrap here of this simple box, export the wireframe into Photoshop, create a very simple texture for it, and then bring it back into 3ds Max and show the actual um, how it looks in the viewport and how it's arranged actually as a texture. So with that selected, is what I'm going to do up here is when I've got the UVW unwrap window open with the box unwrapped, I'm going to go up here and click on Tools, and in Tools we'll have this thing at the bottom here called Render UVW Template. Now the by default the size is 1024 by 1024, and that size is just fine for what it is we're going to be doing, and that is saving the flattened wireframe out to an image format so we can take it into Photoshop. So with it selected, I'm just going to click UVW template or render UV template, and it's going to give me this very simple image here. It may not look like it's complete, it may look broken um, on some computer monitors and some computers. It has to do with the resolution of the vector image it's created. But if you just zoom in on it just a little like this, you'll notice the image is there. You can see it. So let's go ahead and minimize this. Now we also have this little floppy disk up here that says save image. We can save this as many different types of images or different types of image formats. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and save it as a bitmap for no particular reason, as to just that most people are familiar with the Windows bitmap format or JPEG. Um, I tend to not use JPEG very often, so I'll just go ahead and save it as a bitmap, and I will save it. And you'll notice also in the other videos I created, we created up a project folder, and everything, including this, will get saved out into the IVC animation project folder we set up. But since this isn't a scene I'm doing, it's an actual image, I actually can save it into the scene assets folder here, and we have an actual pre-rendered or pre-created folder called images, and I'll just go ahead and save it in here, and I'll name it as box wireframe, excuse me. And I don't. The good thing is I don't have to select whatever um, image format I want. I can actually just type in the extension at the end of it, and in this case being BMP for bitmap, and it will automatically save. Now when you get the BMP compression window that pops up, you can save it as an 8-bit optimized palette of 256 colors, which I suggest you do not do, but as a true RGB 24-bit at 16.7 million colors. So by default it's set to RGB 24-bit, so just click OK, and that let us save it in to go into Photoshop. And with that being said, I'll go ahead and close these windows here and close the window, and 3D Max may freeze on me. There it goes. And I will bring Photoshop over to this monitor now. Maximize that. Now I'm working in Photoshop CS4. Um, I know a lot of you may have CS5 or even CS3, but I keep 4 because it was the last version I purchased. I find that I have no issues with it whatsoever, and I do have no plans of upgrading. So the layout may look a little different, the buttons are a little different than if you have CS5, but that's fine. So what I need to do in Photoshop here now is go find that actual image. So I click on Open, and I will click on MCP. I saved it to my C drive. Actually, no, I sent it to my D drive. Click on Name, IVC Animation, Scene Assets, Images, Box Wireframe. And I'm going to open it up right here. Now the background I'm using for my setup is actually black, so you can't see the actual background of the image. But if I hold down Control on my PC keyboard, hit Control I, it actually inverts it. So this is what I want to do anyway, because I want to make sure that I'm not working on a black background. And there's one thing I do want to stress on this is never, ever, ever do any image manipulation or anything on your actual wireframe. Always create a layer in Photoshop and work on that, and then you can actually just paint over that to create your texture. Now, all intensive purposes, I can actually just save this little mess I'm creating right here. Save this as an image file, save as, and in this case I'm going to go ahead and leave it here, but instead I'm just going to go ahead and leave it as a Photoshop PSD and click save. This comes up, click OK, and go back to 3ds Max. And I will go ahead now and open the material editor. First I'll go ahead and convert this back to an editable poly. I don't need the unwrap right just now. So, with the material editor open, and we have this diffuse, because diffuse actually is the color we're going to create for whatever it is we're making texture-wise. And I'm going to just go ahead and click on this little box next to it where it says previous. Right now it has none. And I'm going to open this. Let's hope it opens. I'm going to be adding a bitmap because it's not going to say JPEG or Targa or PNG or anywhere here, but bitmap is just overall image file, including Photoshop files. So we click on bitmap here. Let's click OK. And here it is. Now here's that squiggly nasty texture I made just for an example. Click on open. Click OK. I don't need any layers. And I'm going to make sure it's added to it. And this here's the back button. I'm going to go back to my original area here. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on the texture by clicking on this little checkerboard where it says show shaded material and viewport. And you'll actually see here's the texture. Well, it doesn't line up, as you can tell, because of the way we created it, but you can see that the texture is on there. It now moves with the object and everything. And that's going to take us to the other part of the video tutorial, because I'm going to stop this one now to keep them short and do another one actually creating a custom texture for this one, which being made out of simple wood with 6 different colored dots on it. And I'll end that right now.